Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Joining me are three generals, and we're also going to talk about global governance initiative. Sorry for the mix-up. Let's welcome the three good generals. Namaskar, sir. How are you?
Thanks a lot.
So today we're going to open the innings with General Raj Shukla. And sir, this global governance initiative and the United Nations, they appear to be on their way out with the new Board of Peace making a grand entrance. Trump wants everybody to pay before they get onto that, 1 billion each, and 60 plus companies, I think. And I wonder where that is headed. See, UN had all the best intentions. They said, we are going to learn the mistakes from the League of Nations. We're going to fix all that, and that's what is going to be United Nations. Right? So you can also do a compare and contrast of what you think might happen. Over to you, sir. General Shukla.
So I think, on the back of the Gaza crisis, Mr. Trump is erecting or trying to erect an American-led world order. He's challenging the UN Charter quite directly in my view. And it is also in the number of countries he's offered and the terms and conditions that he has made. It is also a kind of loyalty litmus test. He's telling people that if you are with me, get onto the board. In that sense, and since the Russians and Chinese are totally absent, or at least so far from all that I have read, this is a challenge to break, crick, whatever you may call it. And this is in line with my thesis of a really hotting up Cold War 2.0. It's throwing the gauntlet to the Russians and Chinese also, saying that we will settle the most challenging disputes without you. It is very different from taking an issue to the Security Council and with all those veto powers. And look at the composition of the board. At least the initial text that has come out is that all the invitees can be members for 3 years. If you want to stay beyond 3 years, pay $1 billion. It's something like membership of Delhi Gymkhana Club. So there is a financial element to it. And the proceedings of the board, Mr. Trump will have all veto. I mean, if I read it carefully, it said that all decisions will have the approval of the chairman. तो आप आओ, अगर रहना है तो पैसे दोगे, but एक ही veto चलेगा Trump का. Let the details come out, but this is, really a typical maverick Trump move. Could it also be a feint on what Trump is planning? My hunch tells me he's planning a strike on the Ayatollah in Iran. He has just retraced his steps back, but that strike is going to come. And in concert with this Board of Peace, he wants a strong American, shall I say, foothold in the Middle East. Now let's come to some of the, more grassroots issues. This is the plan of a maverick. Trump, and maverick is not necessarily a bad word. It is somebody who's unorthodox, who's independent-minded. It also reflects the great frustration with the United Nations. I mean, everybody is frustrated, not only in its inaction, but its simple refusal to see the reality. I mean, the way the Security Council is structured today, it doesn't reflect the current, shall I say, power reality of the international system. If there was any semblance to reality, UK should be out and India should be in. But all this was not happening. But they say that you govern or you campaign in poetry and you govern in prose. Now, what is the poetry? So, dekhne mein to bahut sundar hai. So, there is a force element, the international stabilization force. There is a governance element, which is going to do all the other stuff about capital mobilization, investments. So, that Rivera stuff to get the economy going. There is an executive board, Marco Rubio, Jared Kushner, and there is the political apex, which has Trump and all kinds of invitees, from Argentina to Canada to India, so on and so forth. Now, this is going to be the new international institution for transitional governments in conflicts. So it is beyond Gaza. So, I mean, in a typical, shall I say, a thought exercise, it has everything. It should work. It is also one of the reasons why this has happened, and this we should really look within, that diplomacy had become staid, unimaginative, and it had almost brought the international relations system to a standstill. I mean, nothing ever happened. Now, this maverick, whatever you call him, Trump is trying new tricks. What are those tricks? He is getting billionaires into it. He's getting private sector into it, into diplomacy, because they are the guys who will generate the funds and, bring about the economic business transition. So at this moment, it looks like a dream, but I mean, these are also things that need to be done. For example, in our own Kashmir, if we can get a business commerce transition, the security problem will get addressed to a large extent. So this is the poetry, but we know the prose. The prose is, how do you disarm Hamas? Who's going to do it? You got a 3-star from this, a 2-star from the special operations who will head the ISF. But where will the troops come from? What are the rules of engagement to disarm? That is going to be one hell of a challenge. Because if the Hamas is not disarmed, Gaza is not going to get demilitarized. All the problems of the tunnels, the mines. So that is where, prose comes in. All kinds of strategic uncertainties, so on and so forth. The third point is that this is not going to happen in a jiffy. It is a decade, 2-decade long project. What happens after Trump goes? I mean, the odds are pretty high against this working out. But if there is one reason it may work out, it is because of Mr. Trump. He heads the board, his leadership. He knows how to get these things cracking. That is the chance. But what happens after Mr. Trump? Even if Vance and Rubio follow through, do they have the same charisma? So, this whole board may kick off, but in the long term, I see a lot of challenges. So, Trump planned $70 billion to turn Gaza into this modern, thriving miracle city. At this point, appears a dream. If there is one man who can pull off the dream, it is Trump. But if it is not Trump, then there are huge problems in the detailing of it. The only, or one of the plus points about this plan is that it is, pragmatic judgment, common sense, and at least somebody has shown the courage to depart from approaches, institutions that have failed. I mean, how many times have we done this Gaza piece? So many times, and every time the same things. You disarm somebody, the idea gets revived, it metamorphoses in terms of Hamas. So this time, the economic strategic incentives are a little different. Look at some of the points which struck me, and I'll just say a minute or so more. The moot point is, will it succeed without Russia and China? Will it not trigger a larger, shall I say, geopolitical contest? Because if Russia and China are out, I mean, they are players in the international system. All these technocrats and all that he's bringing in, technocrats, billionaires. I mean, the person who's heading the day-to-day activity, that Palestinian, he is Mr. Shah. He's a very well-known technocrat. But all that is linked to the disarming of Hamas. Let's not forget that Hamas still controls about 47% of the territory. I think Israel has got 53%. And the other plans of, it's currently on the yellow line to withdraw to 40 and to 15 ultimately. It is all linked on the disarming of Hamas and the de-weaponization of Gaza. So these are the challenges that are there. In conception, in imagination, it does seem to have all the arrows in the quiver of statecraft. As I said, technocrats, billionaires to raise the money, to convert it into an economic reality. The International Stabilization Force, which has a 2-star at the moment, headed by the Americans. Now, there are 2-3 more issues. The Americans have said no troops. मतलब leader हमारा, खून किसी और का. अब वो खून कौन बहाएगा? Many of the people, Trump's allies are not the kind that shed blood. They do fancy agreements, but they are not the kind that shed blood. So that is the real question. And here comes the military hardball. I don't see the Hamas getting de-weaponized without a conflict. That conflict could be bloody. Who will bear the body bags? So while the plan is grand, the most fragile element of the plan is de-arming or disarming of Hamas, de-weaponization of Gaza. I'll leave it at that, and we'll return after General Shankar and Hari have their say.
Thank you so much, sir. General Harimohan Iyer.
Thank you. I'll take it forward from where General Shukla left. And I have a feeling this is more like kahin pe nigah hai, kahin pe nishana. I have been saying this, that Trump, his basic element is to somehow find a solution to the Russian-Ukraine war. Till the time he plants a flag there that he's been able to do something to stop that war, he's going to be beating around the bush. So this is possibly one more way of him telling the world that he is the guy who can solve the conflicts in the world, and he will not stop till such time that peace is accord. That is what I feel. And sir, General Shukla sir, you said what will happen after 3 years. I have a feeling Trump is not going. The way he is refurbishing his residence, his new ballroom, now this new initiative, I don't see Trump leaving. So I am a little skeptical whether something is brewing on that line. But in that line, he's kept this open for 3 years. So that also should be seen. Possibly looking at this entire thing to close within his tenure of 3 years. And this $1 billion reminds me of the Twitter blue tick. Good old days, one had to be very active on Twitter and social media, have a number of followers to get that blue tick. And come Elon Musk and the Trump brigade, and it came on a cost. Many people said nobody will buy it. All of us bought it. All of us are subscribing, and all of us are blue tick holders today. So it works. I'm sure this is also on the same lines. When Trump pulled out of 60 plus UN initiatives after the last UN General Assembly meet, he gave the indication that he doesn't believe in the United Nations. And I'd like to bring out an incident that happened. When I was sent as a UN observer to the Congo in 2001, the mission had not yet got stabilized. So all of us were, sitting in the UN headquarters, and we had the ambassador is called the special rep of the Secretary General. So this gentleman and I we met over a cup of coffee. Somehow, whatever, he found a liking for me, so he went to my force commander. He said, I want this guy as my military assistant. So I was shifted from military observer to the office of the SRSG, and I became possibly maybe the only guy who worked in a civil environment in a UN mission. But that 1 year which I worked with the SRSG gave me a lot of insights. I used to brief all the permanent 5 ambassadors once in a month. And there used to be one gentleman who used to be always there, every time in all these briefings. So one day I asked the chef de mission as to who is this guy. He says, don't worry about him. He comes from the bank which feeds you. The money is coming from there. So all these events one saw, even the complete charter of the UN Security Council, the peacekeeping forces, what kind of forces were all controlled by the Americans even then. It's nothing new that this thing is happening. Everything, yes, there was a veto power. The Russians and the Chinese had been using it occasionally. But that having said, whenever there was a resolution, the Americans were controlling the UN even before. It's possibly now that Trump is not able to push his way through the UN. That's why he's brought this parallel thing. I don't know how it's going to work, despite the fact that he's got a UN Security Council okay within 24 hours, with Russia and China not vetoing but abstaining. Very strange. I also look at this one as a counter BRICS and a counter SCO kind of a bogey. So, like General Shukla says, and I agree, it comes back to the same dialogue as to either you are with us or you are against us. So you have to take a choice. You want to be with the Americans or you want to be against the Americans. And he has been using this even in his first term, whenever BRICS became a challenge. He made this statement many times when the currency was being mooted, and India was one of those countries which said we don't want the BRICS currency as of now. It is a very difficult balancing act which India has to do, because our relevance is in the BRICS, but our problems also comes from BRICS. Till the time the China issues are not sorted out, BRICS may not be the solution. And like General Shankar brought out last time around, or maybe in his podcast yesterday, I don't think non-alignment or global South is an option now. You have to be either here or there, and it will be a very, very difficult choice for India. And I'm sure we'll be discussing that a little later. I also would like to flag what is going to be the future of NATO, because this is something which is going to blow NATO's relevance away. And by and large, Trump is out and out trying to get rid of that bogey of NATO from the back of the Americans. And whatever he's been doing, trying to shake his hands off the Ukrainian conflict, trying to cut out the money flow to NATO, and thereby making NATO responsible for themselves. And now with this Greenland bogey also coming in, I'm sure we should look at what is NATO's future with a little bit of more detail. My own heart says that till such time India and Israel have a working relationship, a very strong, stable working relationship, India will be a major player in any aspect which is coming up in the Middle East. Because Israel can only trust amongst all these nations, if one nation Israel can trust, other than the United States, is India. So Israel will keep India onto the side. Whether you like it or not, India will be brought into this particular gambit, whichever way it is. And it will be interesting to see how we respond. And so I believe, I just read just before coming on the podcast, that I believe Russia has been given an invite. So that leaves only China and Saudi Arabia as the two big nations which have not been given as an invite. I don't know whether Russia is going to jump into this bandwagon with Trump in charge, because that's going to be a clash of titans. That they abstain from voting in the United Nations Security Council indicates that they are not coming in. My larger worry is this is going to be a money-driven exercise. This money, 70 billion, is a very, very small money as far as global issue is concerned. The amount of money that Gaza is going to suck in is much, much more. And it is not going to start in a hurry, because I don't see Hamas that it will go like the 1948 UN resolution of Kashmir. The first line is Hamas to, that time the first line was Pakistan should vacate whatever they captured in Kashmir. And it never happened, and that whole resolution became irrelevant. I'm very sure the similar thing is going to happen here with Hamas choosing to disarm. And if till the time Hamas disarms, nothing is going to go. So there's going to be a lot of talk and talk and talk. Money will be pooled in. How it is going to be utilized will be very interesting to see. Who all are these big businessmen who are going to make a big buck coming into the Middle East? Because they have been doing it even in the past when Iraq was being rebuilt post the what was that? Desert Storm. So the similar thing is going to happen in the Middle East. Interesting times, and it is like Emperor, President of USA is, as I look at it, is trying to become President of the world, and he is going to be, sitting in the White House throne and passing his diktats through Truth Social every day, and the entire world is going to react. So all of us every morning we can get up and see what is in store for us for the next 24 hours, and try and find a solution. By the time we do something, he'll drop one more. So very interesting times. And like I said in the morning when I posted this to Sri Iyer, I think at 7 o'clock in this morning, that we could consider discussing it. And so many things have happened in the last 12 hours. And something which we can follow up, like General Shukla says, more as the responses come from various countries. I'll stop here. We can discuss it a little later.
Thank you so much, sir. Last word from General R. Shankar, and then we'll take some questions, sir.
Yeah. In the morning, I've done this topic only. The Board of Peace. I did this and I analyzed it.
I listened to it.
Yeah. You know what Hari said? Kahin pe nigahe, kahin pe nishana. I am very clear. And if you go back to initial days of Trump presidency, when his inaugural talk, and then you see what happened in Venezuela, hemispheric, Trump strategy, everything. It all falls in line. Nishana is where? China. You might not agree with me. That's okay. Why? Let's analyze China. Because if you don't analyze China, you'll not understand what's happening here. You know, China had this great narrative. East is rising, West is declining. Yeah, in a 100-year marathon, our time has come, West is gone. All that nonsense. Our economy is up and down, all that. There is a narrative building. You look at what happened in the SCO. The GGI was announced, Global Governance Initiative. Who are there? Who are the people who are there? Russia and China. What is this Global Governance Initiative all about? Please track it. This comes on the follow-up of BRI. It comes on the follow-up of Global Civilizational Initiative. The Security Initiative, the Development Initiative, all that nonsense. All these were there, isn't it? They are there still. They're not run away. And this man comes and Xi Jinping has started establishing bodies in Beijing and Shenzhen and Shanghai, which were to be world mediation body, which are part of his global governance architecture. Now, you have to also understand they've completely undermined the UN. How is the UN being undermined? Because through BRI, all the member countries of the BRI were voting for China. So China had its vote for everything. Right? And you saw in the past 5-10 years, I'm not joking, I mean, you have to go back. Don't think this is a maverick action. I disagree with what, Raj Shukla said. This is a well-planned action. And this is based on cold logic. Okay? You saw the UN being undercut. You saw the WTO being undercut completely. And all of us said, yeah, China mein ja raha hai. Weren't we worried about it? Wasn't China blocking your entrance into the, UN Security Council? It was not allowing you into the NSG. It was running circles around us. Like idiots, we were thinking. I mean, let's be frank. Were we happy about it? No. Weren't the Islamic agendas undercutting UN completely? Wasn't Pakistan playing us through the UN? And the relevance of UN to stop anything or do anything is gone. And we are trying to say we'll reform UN Security Council and UN and all that so that we get an entry. You will not get an entry. Let's be very clear. And you are the third largest economy or fourth largest economy. If you don't have a say, you want to be the Gungi Gudia of the world. So, the way I look at it, what Mr. Trump has done is something fundamental. He's shifted the whole story. You have to look at the history of the League of Nations, why it failed, why UN is failing, and why you need a new story. You need a new story. And that is what China was propagating. And this chap has come and undercut that. And it is undercut on fundamental principles. The fundamental principles is today China doesn't have hardly a leg to stand on in the Latin America. They have investments and all that. People can argue against it. But the fact is, Colombia, which was jumping up and down, immediately after Venezuela was taken, Gustavo Petro talks to Trump and says, yeah, I'm your friend. Panama Canal was hijacked completely by China. With those two ports, on either end of Panama, Cristobal and some other port, I'm forgetting its name, right? So what does Trump do? He sends Marco Rubio, and Marco Rubio tells the entire government, including the Supreme Court, I want this canal back. So what then happens? The Attorney General of Panama files a case against this Lakashing ports, that is C.K. Hutchinson, and says, look, these chaps are doing defrauding, right? So that, Supreme Court is going to give an order, thank you, China, get lost from here. That's prefixed. So that goes, and then what happens? You see at Red Sea what's happening here. You think this UAE move and Israel move is funny? You see what's happening in Somaliland, you see what's happening in South Yemen. Okay? If you see that, then incidentally, Saudi Arabia started dealing with Houthis for a deal. So your next choke point, Red Sea. Okay? And in any case, the third choke point, Malacca, is anyway not with China. So you see the control of choke points happening simultaneously. You see hemispheric defense getting strengthened. And look, we might debate what we want about Greenland, but China has become a near polar power. It has got a charter of being a polar power. It published a white paper, and that is being facilitated by Russia. Right? So this is a very well thought out plan. It is not something which is just like that. See the steps to this. US aid suspended. Thank you. He propagated something called the Core 5 2 months back. That was this, red herring. NATO is under the hammer today. WTO, of course, is useless completely. So there is a plan in this, all this, and now he comes out with this. You think Gaza is an issue? I don't think so. From my side, Gaza can keep fighting, Hamas can keep doing what it wants, and Israel will keep hammering these Palestinians, and that will continue. There will be a stabilization force, that crook, international crook, Tony Blair. He'll come back. He's brought, resuscitated. He's the guy who sold the candle to everyone, of what's that, WMD and all that. He's brought in. He's the ace crook. He'll handle that. But Trump's thing is bigger. And he's got all interested groups. And if what you're saying is right, that Russia has been invited, you watch, Putin jump the ship from China. Because fundamentally, Russia wants to be a European power, not an Asian power. Right? It is a European Russia which is the core of their industry, everything. Siberia has only resources. And look, I've always said, Putin is a Pied Piper with a missile instead of a flute. Okay? He's playing everyone. He's played Xi Jinping, he's played India, he's played Syria, he's played Turkey, he's played everyone. He's played USA also. What transpired in that meet in Anchorage, we don't know. There's a whole lot of things which have not come out. So when you look at all these things, this is not a simple plan. It is a very clear change of scenario, global governance which is happening. Yes, there's going to be a struggle. But does China have the wherewithal to get against it, go against it? You will see it doesn't have. You see the economic results. You see the timing. You see the economic results of China which came out recently. You see the demographic decline. 4th year in running, their demography has gone down. Now it's very clear that their demography is collapsing. One has to look at factors. They say that they've got 5% growth, but the actual people, you take about 10 different people who look at numbers seriously. It is some people say it's contracting, maximum is 2%. You want to fall for the Chinese propaganda? That's okay. The fact is they're losing. They're in a bad shape. This is all timed, where China can't hit back. China's only way out is exports, and their exports are not contributing enough to the internal bleeding which is take place. These are numbers, and these numbers are Chinese numbers. They're not my numbers. And I'm going to do a separate program on that separately, because that analysis is very interesting. So you're looking at a great change. Now the question is, should you be part of that change or not? All the while you want to be, UN Security Council member. Yaar, 1 billion chahta hai, फेंक दो. What is 1 billion for us, for India? It is chiller. You have Reserve Bank of India today has $800 billion or $700 billion reserve. You are a $4 trillion economy. What is one billion? Like the other day, and I've been saying, the investments which are going to come in India in the next 4 or 5 years are $70 billion. And these are certified investments coming from where? USA, not China. Okay? So, if that is the case, do you have any options? Right? Okay, you say, no, this is a tricky thing. I don't know whether I'll go this side or that side. You're already that side with SCO and BRICS. Who's stopping you from not being there? Is it a precondition in that offer letter that you should quit SCO and BRICS? It is not, you're still there. Okay, so if you can be there, you can be here also. There's nothing to choose. Who's to object? If you want to be I2U2, you want to be Mediterranean, you want to flex your muscles this side, you want to have a thing with UAE, yeah, you might as well be in this board. It's a free of cost board. 3 years tak to hai, 1 saal ke liye you don't have to pay also. Like what Hari said, the Twitter game. So blue tick to aayega hi aayega. So, and if you have to be the 4th largest power or the 3rd largest power, behave so. And it gets me back to that story which we have been discussing, what Raj Shukla has been talking all this while. Civil military fusion. You need military power. No, economic power alone won't do. And I'm glad this defense deal has been through with UAE, because it will force you to flex your military muscle. Right? And I have a count. So I have a view about this, this great relationship with Russia. Remember, there are 3-4 markers I leave for your thought. I've always said, I said this last year when Op Sindoor happened. The silence of our friends hurts more than the noise of our enemies. And Russia was silent then. We stood by Russia. Did Russia stand by us? And I can quote numbers, I can quote instances when Russia didn't stand by us at our time of need, as much as people will say it stood by us. What happened with Admiral Gorshkov? You go into that, it's a sordid story. The Russians agreed at one point for a particular figure and just made it 2.5 times. We got Admiral Gorshkov, that is Virat, at a tremendous price. Right? In the balance, and we've never got any technology from Russia. No technology so far. Yes, we've had a lot of help from Russia, but we need to be clear as to what we didn't get from Russia as much as what we got from Russia. Have the balance, because national interest comes first. If my national interest today tells I should be on this board of peace and I should be a permanent member of this board of peace, because I can't handle the UN, I will be there. If it doesn't, that's a different story. But it has to be a well thought out process. Is there risk in it? There is risk in it. If you don't take risk, भाई बेटर हो एक कोने में, लाइक व्हाट आई सेड पहले, यही आप दंड पेलते रहो, बाहर मत जाना, इंडियन ओशन में मत जाना, बी हियर, बी लुकिंग एट द चाइनीज अक्रॉस द बॉर्डर, देन बी हैप्पी. So I think the time has come when India has to take pragmatic decisions based on its national interests. And we have to decide what's the national interest. And luckily, we have the polity to do so. We have a very stable, the political outfit or our government. Okay? We have that. We have the political strength. You have the economic strength. And I think yesterday or day before, there's a thing in the World Economic Forum where Mr. Martin Wolf, who's supposed to be one of the whiz kids of economy, right? He says for the next 20 years, India is the big thing in growth, right? If that is so, your thinking has to change. We also have to have a realization that we are not there for everything. We need technology. We don't have technology. And we need to invest in it. No, but that's at a later date. And you need others. So I think the time has come when we have to see this. We are in a flux of change. By sitting in one corner and saying, I'll not cross the river because magarmach hai under, you'll not achieve anything. Maybe I've over-enunciated my case, but that's what it is. Back to you, Mr. Sri Iyer.
Thank you so much, sir. Let's take a few questions now.